What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm traveling a little bit today, so I got a different background if you're watching me online. Otherwise, you're just hearing my audio. Hope it's solid and good for you. Today, we have an amazing guest. His name is Casey Quinn. He scaled a real estate company in less than 5 years, from 0 to 850 doors, and from 0 to almost $100 million in assets. I am so excited for him to bring to you, I think, some of the most valuable lessons that I've heard about creating a culture, how teams help you scale, how people help you scale, and how at the same time, his mindset behind accountability, taking action, and scaling massively. If you're anything like me, we kind of think a little bit like, okay, great, I want to have a few homes, I want to have a few co-living homes, but I also want to scale, right? I want to create something that has a legacy to pass down for years and years and years and years and decades and hundreds and hundreds and hopefully centuries and centuries. So enjoy, and we'll see you on the end. I'll start by saying, for you in less than 5 years to have 850 plus doors, almost $100 million in real estate, I think anybody listening would love to have that as part of their resume. And so that's where you're at now. Congrats, in under 5 years, coming from a background of being a professional CPA. So what I'd love for you to do is just take us back, though. Like, we could start now, and I want to talk about scale. I want to get into scale. I want to get into how you did it, what your mindset was and how you did it, how accountability was a part of, I just got off a call with one of somebody in your world from the Boardroom Mastermind, and talk a little bit about how accountability was a part of this process for you. But first, take us back, Casey. Take us back to who was Casey before $100 million in real estate.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it, and I appreciate having me. It's funny thinking back, right? Because it's only been 5 years, but it's been a heck of a ride over the last 5 years in terms of where we scaled and how much we've scaled the portfolio, as well as the additional businesses that we've kind of spun off from that. But going all the way back then, really, it was a concept for me of fear and trying to basically eliminate it. I had a job my whole life. Like you said, I was a CPA. I was in public accounting for 10 years. I really understood numbers, and I really understood business, and I really understood people. And thinking back, and even back then, I always thought, like, I would love to run my own company one day, but, I love Shark Tank. Huge Shark Tank guy, but I just I'm the least creative person on the planet. And so I'm never going to be able to come up with a product to be able to sell and build a business off of and go to market, right? And I never really conceptualized the idea of service, because I was in the service industry. I'm like, why don't I know how to create that? So long story short, ultimately just, what I would tell you is I lucked into getting fired, right? At the end of the day, I took a massive pay cut through the CFO job at a local real estate company. And, I only lasted there 10 months because of the culture that was there. And ultimately, I believe in treating people a certain way in order to scale, right? I think people have to be at their highest and best use in order to be there, over a long period of time. They have to be happy at the end of the day, right? If you come to work every day that you're miserable, it doesn't work. So that was really the fundamental reason why it didn't work for me where I was. And so I kind of restaffed that company's back office. But in the meantime, I learned real estate. So I learned real estate for about 10 months. When I got fired, I asked my wife for 6 months. I said, let me figure it out. I had no idea what I was going to do. I actually had started full circle. I run an accounting company now too, but going back then, I was like, I'll start doing bookkeeping until I figure this thing out. Give me 6 months. And my now partner, I went to him. He was a really successful real estate agent at Pittsburgh. He really wanted to start trying to buy real estate. He had started to dabble, and he started wholesaling because he didn't know how to hire anybody and start to scale, and didn't understand the number side of it. And I said, hey, you find the deals to buy, I'll do the rest of the entire business, and let me run the back office. I'll run the people, I'll run the growth and all those different things. And we took off. So I think I was fired in March of 19, bought our first single family home for $40,000. By the way, I had no money. And so everything we've ever done was on using other people's money. I've actually never used a dollar of my own money in any real estate deal I've ever done.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's all OPM. So I learned how to raise capital. I learned how to work the banks really well. I was actually in the hole. I think I owed about $100,000. The day before I got fired, I knew it was coming, actually, bro. And I took out a $40,000 lending tree loan because I was like, I know my wife's going to go, how can we live? And so I had $40,000 I had put into it. And I was getting married, and I just bought a house. So all the money we had was gone, completely gone, because of the wedding and the house we just bought before I got fired. So that $40,000 lending tree, I said, hey, we're going to live on this for 6 months. Plus she worked, right? So she had a full-time job and she was doing well. So we had her income too. And, just started to get to work, right? Massively eliminating fear and, really using the concept of numbers and understanding financial statements and, how to underwrite real estate to go out and start to buy real estate, right? So May 21st, 2019, $40,000 home. We actually still own that today. The same tenant is still living there. But it was worth like 60 grand. And so we bought it for 40. I convinced the private money lender that I had met to fund 100% of that deal. And I think my partner had some money. So I said, hey, you just got to cover closing costs and let me refinance. It was already rented for, I think, like $1,200 a month, Section 8 housing. So the rent was guaranteed. So the private money, the hard money lender, which was pseudo private, a local guy, said, sure. We paid him an arm and a leg, I think like 25% in total, but I'm like, well, we can't do the deal otherwise. So who cares what the interest rate is? And then I think it appraised for maybe like 70, 80 grand. We pulled 60 out of it, paid the interest off, paid our hard money loan off for 40, made like 5, 6K on it. And then just started cycling as fast as we could. We always used the concept of the money we made on our Burr model refinances out to scale operations. And so we continued just to borrow from private money, hard money. Early on it was all hard money until I could prove the concept, and then I converted it over to private capital in order to start really scaling quicker, faster, less cost of capital, those different things. I'll stop there, but happy to dive more into that if you want. But that's kind of how it started, if you will. That's kind of how I started getting into real estate and buying homes as fast as I could, if you will, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I want to get into all of that, man. I want to get into raising capital a little bit. I want to get into like this idea of limiting fear. I think that's a really important concept for people, especially as you get into some of these real estate transactions. I think they say that when someone buys a house for their personal house, that most of the times that is the biggest transaction they will ever do in their entire life. And obviously you've done that, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times over. That's really beautiful. But I want to first talk about this. So you worked in public accounting. You took a job at a real estate firm. So I'm just pure curiosity question. Was that intentional? Was that like, hey, no, I need to learn more about real estate, or you just got a decent job?
I was in finance transformation at a big national accounting firm at the time. And the guy that I worked really closely with actually left and took a CFO job at a big time corporation down in Virginia Beach. He was living in Cincy at the time. He moved to Virginia Beach, left the firm, and I was like, okay. The practice that I was at, right, I'll keep it short, was based out of Seattle. And so he and I were really the only couple on the East Coast working really hand in hand. And he was, one of my mentors at that point in time. And he left. So I was like, oh crap, now writing's on the wall. And I'm sick of travel anyway. So I was traveling 78% of my time. I just was done with it. We were getting married. My wife and I were getting married. We were going to start to raise a family. We were looking to buy a house, all those different things. And so actually what happened is my business partner now on the real estate company was my real estate agent, right? So he went to college with my brother. And when we were looking at the house I ended up actually buying, he said, hey, don't you do accounting? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, the company I am an agent at currently has an entire investment arm in real estate, and they just fired their CFO in the entire back office because they caught him stealing. Are you interested? And it just happened to be timing. I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm done. I'm kind of sick of traveling. And so, he connected me with the owner of that company. It was a small shop, so they couldn't afford anywhere near what I was making at the time, right? I was in a big national firm going into these, doing $500,000-$600,000 6-month projects on these huge corporations, right? Fortune 100 companies, big time companies, where I'm coming in doing a massive finance transformation project, to working at a small 20-person, 25-person, local real estate company here in Pittsburgh. So I was like, you know what, I'm done with traveling. I'll take this massive pay cut. It's not entrepreneurship, but I feel like at a CFO level, I can really roll up my sleeves, get my hands on this thing, fix it, and grow the business, right? I'm really good at finance transformation. I'm helping these Fortune 100 companies. I'll be able to crush it at a small local real estate company, like any company, right? And it just happened to be real estate. And then that's when I got in. I'm like, oh my God, like here's a massive vehicle. So I still to this day say I'm not a massive real estate guy at the end of the day. I don't necessarily love it. I love deals, and I love creating wealth, and I love creating opportunity for other people in any industry. And real estate is just a massively good vehicle to allow us to do that. I learned that in my 10 months there of, wow, done the right way, this could really change a lot of lives. And even then when I got fired, I wasn't sure that was going to be my route, because I don't love real estate. So I don't know how I'm going to go and start buying homes regularly where I'm going in. I don't know how to scope a home in construction. I still don't, right? I'm decent now because I run all the number side of it, right? And, my CFO, my team does, but I got really good at it. Long story short, I'm like, So I don't even know if I can go do that, right? And then that's when I started doing bookkeeping for my now partner. While I was at the company in that 10 months, we actually kicked him out because the owner, long story, heard that he was buying real estate, and didn't believe in collaboration. And so we kicked him out at the time. So I went to him. I'm like, dude, all you got to do is go find the real estate, figure out the construction scope, run that side of it, and let's get to town, right? And that's what happened. So yeah, that's really kind of why it was real estate. It was luck of the draw, if you will, really.
That's so cool. Yeah. I mean, for a second, I thought, man, if that was intentional, perfect stepping stone, what do they say? You should, if you ever work, you should be working for equity, or you should be working to learn, right?
Yeah.
And maybe unbeknownst to you.
I've always believed in that. I think that's probably, I don't want to glare over what you just said, because I think that's probably one of the most important things on the planet for anybody ever to hear. Work to learn, live your life for education. I massively believe in education more than anything. Every day that I wake up, I want to learn for at least 2 or 3 hours a day. So I'm always putting myself in rooms. I'm getting myself on calls, trying to solve problems I haven't solved before in order to create education for myself. Because I think if you're not continuing to educate yourself, and I spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on it now in order to do so. I pay for coaching still, right? I'm in mastermind groups. I pay for those because I believe, to your point, education is so huge. And if you can do it full time, especially early on in your career, you want to do X and you can find a job that's going to pay you to learn from the people doing it. I mean, it's genius.
Yeah. You mentioned so you lost your job, you took this $40,000 loan. You mentioned eliminating fear, radically eliminating fear, I think was the term that you used. I'm just curious, what were you afraid of? I think, and I'm asking this question because I think a lot of people can relate to making any big transition in their life, whether they lost their job or not. I think, for people that I work with, a lot of times it's just buying that first home, right? It's there's a massive amount of fear and trepidation around that. What were you afraid of, and what was your strategy for overcoming that fear and being able to not be paralyzed by that, but continue to take action forward?
Yeah, I would tell you two things. I don't necessarily think people are scared to buy their first home or buy a home. What I think people are scared of is one of two things, massively one of two things. Number one, fear of failure. And number two is fear of the unknown. And the only way that you overcome either of those things is take action, right? So I'm a massive believer in taking massive action in everything that you do in order to overcome your fears, right? If you think about fear of failure, the only way to overcome the fear of failure is to do it and fail and realize it's not the end of the world. And then the only way to overcome fear of the unknown is to take action and know it, right? And so people all the time, to your point, right, you create this wheelhouse where you just think and think and think and you don't actually do anything. And so all you've got to do is change your mindset to say, do it. Whatever it is, just go do it. Every single day you wake up, right? What am I going to do today that's going to always continue to massively move the ball forward? And that's just taking action, right? Go read the book that you want to read. If you don't know how to do something, go read the book and then go do it, right? If you don't know how to, whatever it is, go learn it, go into a room and then take action on it, right? So for me, it was just start buying homes. I didn't know how to buy a home, right? I didn't have the money. I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything. Well, go talk to lenders. So I went and talked to lenders so I could find one that would be willing to do it. Well, look, here's the deal. Here's how we're doing it. Here's my background. Here's Brian's background. Will you lend to us? No? Okay, no problem. Go ask the next guy, right? As opposed to saying, no one would ever lend to us. Why would anybody lend to us? That's unknown. I didn't know it, right? So I took action to learn it. So to me, taking action solves all fear. Just take action and do it, right? If you're scared to ride the roller coaster at the amusement park, guess what gets you over your fear? There's only one thing. Riding the roller coaster at the amusement park. It's the only way you're going to overcome the fear of riding the roller coaster. So just go do it, right? And then you just mentally, and then you practice. It's just like playing basketball, playing a sport, right? Anything you do, you're not going to be perfect at it day one. And so, yeah, you might wake up tomorrow and strike out, right? You might not actually take action to go solve what you're scared of. But if you do something to solve it, right, then the very next day you tell yourself, and you start practicing that, right? Now, all of a sudden, you could do the big business deal that you never thought of. You could take down, last month or 2 months ago, February, a couple months ago, right, I bought my biggest building, which was a 98 unit that I had 95% seller financing on it, right? 4 years ago, there ain't no way in hell I could ever have done that deal, But I've taken massive action every day by buying other deals to teach myself. And so when that deal comes on my plate, I'm like, no, I'll figure this out, right? It builds the confidence because you're taking action and doing it every day, practicing. So that's what I would tell you how I overcome fear, how I did it back then. how I do now. It's like, I'm just going to figure it out, right? Take action and learn every day. Don't try and swim in the ocean if you're in the river. Just swim in the river. When you get to the ocean, guess what? You're going to have all that practice of swimming in the river that you'll be able to swim in the ocean. But if you try thinking that you can swim in the ocean today when you've got to still get through the river,
Yeah.
you're never going to get through the river.
How important for you in your journey was accountability? This is one of the things I wanted to pick your brain on for our audience too, is like, there's a stuckness that you can get into a routine of thinking, and then fear, and then thinking, getting ready to take action and fear. I've been in that exact process myself several times. I may or may not be in that process with one particular thing in my business right now. Yeah. So what are some ways to like slap yourself out? Like, I get like, just go do it. I'm curious if there's tricks or if you've mentioned to me in past conversations and through like that accountability was a huge piece of that. Did that play into you being able to take that action? And if so, how? And if so, how could someone maybe stuck in that loop snap out of that?
Yeah, I think, I definitely think accountability plays a role where it's like, I'll give you an example. I working out, and I always would work out. I'm semi, but then this year I said, look, I'm going to make myself accountable to this. And the only way I'm going to do this is if I post it every week. So every single week now I got to post on my social medias about working out. So now I'm held accountable to the public. It's not like I have a massive following, but I'm held accountable to any one person that's looking at it. And so every single day I wake up, I'm like, well, I don't want to make the post that says I didn't do it this week, right? So accountability helps. Or if you say you're going to do something, accountability buddies, partners, right, where they're holding you accountable, you don't want to say no to that, right? I think for me, that's definitely a big part of it. But I think number two is like eliminating ego is another massive thing that I believe in, right? It's eliminating the fear and eliminating the ego. If you eliminate the ego, you don't have to, like, a lot of times we say we're going to do these things and then we don't want to, it's like failure, right? We're scared to fail because we have an ego, right? I don't want to mess up. I don't want to ask you, right? Like, talking co-living. I don't know much about it, right? But I have an ego, so I'm not going to ask you because I'm Casey and I have a big portfolio and I know what I'm doing, blah, 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 blah. That's ego, right? So if I eliminate my ego and I just ask you the questions on how to do it, well, then I'm going to get answers and be able to then attack and solve my problems and move forward by taking action. So to me, it's those two big things. Like, everybody has an ego. I have an ego, but I try to massively get rid of that ego and everything. So I always ask myself those questions. Like, is this ego talking? If the answer is yes, well, like, change that. Like, why won't I just go ask this person for help? Why won't I go put myself at a table with 5 people that are way above and doing way bigger things than me and sit there and say, guys, I have no idea what you're talking about, but if you don't mind, can I listen? Because I'm getting education. Most people won't do that, right? Because they have an ego. They don't want people to be, they don't want to be perceived as the less off guy at the table, right? Or the least educated. Where my answer always is no. Like, let's go get that education. Let's go take the action. Let's go mess up, right? Let's go buy a house. And if we screw up and we don't renovate it right and we lose on the deal, we have to go, we're scared to tell our lender. We're scared to tell our parents. We're scared to tell our friends that we lost on the deal. So we don't do it. Well, like, that's just ego talking. So if you can tell yourself every day to get rid of the ego, if I mess up, at least I learn. It's just education. Right, I'm failing forward. And if you can always think I'm failing forward, I'm getting smarter in everything I do. So every mistake I made, self-reflect on it and get better. Then we're okay. Like, it's just part of our, like, at City Life, it's part of our core values, right? Is those things, is extreme ownership. Like, take massive, let's go is our number one core value. Take massive action on everything that we're doing. Let's go. No, let's go, right? And then extreme ownership. When you mess up, like, if you're not messing up, it means you're not moving fast enough, right? You're not making decisions and solving problems and making mistakes. So you better make mistakes and own them, right? Because if you don't own your mistakes and you point the finger at somebody else, guess who's getting smarter? Not you. The only way you're going to get smarter is whenever you self-reflect and realize that you made a mistake so that you can say, what did I do wrong there so I don't do it again? And so that's kind of like the massive mindset piece to why people always ask me, how did you scale so fast? I'm like, I just took action and I got mindset. I got rid of my ego. I got rid of, fear. And I just started going and it started working. Right. And obviously I had the accounting background, the number side in that too. But, it all starts with mindset. All of it starts with mindset and just the ability to say, how do I massively take action? How do I massively move forward every day? Be willing to make mistakes, not care what people think, eliminate the ego and go, and then self-reflect to get educated on it so you don't keep making those same mistakes.
So what was your mindset when, I feel like when I ask people about their scale, like scaling, and obviously you've had this amazing run of scale your last 5 years, and I'm sure you'll continue to scale from this point forward. I feel like I get two answers from people. Sometimes they're like, oh, I set the intention. I wanted this. I wanted 850 doors. I wanted 100 million. And then I grew. And then I feel like sometimes I get the answer of just like, oh, I don't know. I just like did a little bit every day. I just worked forward. And then I woke up and like, here it was, because I was just focused on doing the work every day. What was your mindset? Because I think a lot of our listeners, me included, can relate to wanting to be in a place where we don't just have one or two homes. We've built something. We've built a legacy portfolio, right? What does that look like for you? What was your mindset behind that in terms of you setting goals with your company and maybe your core values to actually build and scale?
A lot of the pure mindset I think I've always had from that perspective that I kind of shared with you, right? But, I won't lie to you. Massive focus was definitely a big piece of this for us. Like from day one, I said, Brian and I said when we sat down, I started doing his basic bookkeeping on his agency, right? And what he was doing over there. And we started talking about like potentially doing this. It was like, we need to be very clear on what it is we're doing and essentially be intentionally focused on building a portfolio. We both wanted to build a portfolio. And so there was no real cash flow coming in from anything that we were doing, right? And so a lot of people think they want to go build this wholesaling division or go build a brokerage first or do a bunch of flips first. And I said, I'm willing to sacrifice if you are. Like, all I care about is building a portfolio. Let's stack as many units as we can from day one, do it, and at the time, like now I realize how different that was than everybody, like what everybody does, how different it is. And so I try to keep more real estate all the time because you can, if you're willing to sacrifice short-term for the long-term, because people want money, right? People want all kinds of cash and they want the cool cars and those different things. And so they're going to go flip. I'm like, listen, take 20% off the flip price. If you're okay with that, you can keep the real estate deal, start cash flowing. You're not going to have that extra 20% of your pocket to waste on a dumb car, right? So that was my mindset from day one. And I said, if we do that, then I'll build a business on the back of it, right? And that was my, pure intelligence around being in public accounting in corporate America for 10 years to say, hey, we need to create enterprise value. I knew what enterprise value was. I knew the importance of it. I knew how massive exits can be and how much more important it is than even just a real estate portfolio.
Yeah. How would you define enterprise value? For those.
How do I define it? Like essentially the value of an enterprise, which is a business, which is essentially people, process, and product, in my case, service, right? So for instance, a property management company has enterprise value. It has people, process, and services. And so the package up of all of those three together to create top line revenue and bottom line net income, which has a value that someone else can acquire.
Yeah.
I'm kind of proud of my definition there on the spot. So,
that's great. Yeah, that was
that's
awesome.
really what it is. And I said, hey,
spoken like a true CPA.
Yes, right. We can create that on the back of buying real estate, right? So that's what I did, right? That's what we did. We said, look, let's go buy. Like we bought our first 10 single family. I mean, quite literally, I don't know. It was me and my partner until we had probably 20 or 30. But I said, we're never going to. Every dollar that we spend, I want to figure out how to bring that back home. And so we started creating the businesses off of the portfolio. So property management was naturally first. And I said, hey, I'm going to create a separate property management company. We're going to create enterprise value. We're going to create a separate business that has to stand alone and produce on its own. And it'll be an arm's length transaction. So they're going to get their revenue from managing this portfolio. And we have enough money in that revenue of it was 10%, right? That's the standard rate for a single family scattered site home, right? So we had 20 single family homes paying 10% to this company. Plus a leasing fee. And so that was revenue, top line revenue for that management company. And then we started to build it, right? We started to hire employees. We started to create processes, right? We started to do those different things in that business in order to build and scale that company as it sits, right? And so that's what I knew we had to do on the backs of the real estate portfolio in order to create scale and mass success, because we got to hire people, right? Like we have to hire people in order to run a service business. Otherwise you don't really have much of a service at the end of the day. And then the other big piece that I would tell you from a scaling perspective, and I know you didn't really ask this specific question, but like invest early, invest often. It's the same thing, short-term, long-term. How much are you willing to give up today and sacrifice today for the long-term outcomes of what you're after? And so for us, I never have looked at an employee ever as a cost. Everybody that goes to hire people, they think about it as a cost. Well, I can't afford that right now. No problem. I'm not asking you to afford it right now. What I'm asking you is, can you make an investment Just like you can buy a house into a person, and what is that going to produce? It's going to produce one of two things. One, they add value to their business, or two, they free your time up or somebody else's time up in order to go add more value to the business. And also, by the way, it's not a full year's salary or bonus or whatever it is. It's on a per monthly basis. And so if I hire somebody for 120K all in, it's $10,000 a month. Can they either make more than 10K a month for the business, or can they do something enough that someone else can go make an additional 10K a month for the business? If that's the case, then it's a good investment. The really cool thing about investing in people, when you think about a real estate deal and scaling real estate in any line of business, right? You can pretty much, now I'll throw out some statistical terms for you, standard deviation, right? Like if I massively mess up on this Burr model investment that I did, you know what I mean? I might be down 20K, even 40K, but I can literally put it in buckets of what I'm going to lose and what I'm going to make, right? If I buy a $100,000 house and put 50 grand into it, it might be worth 300 or 400, but I know it's going to be like 300 or 320 or 330. If I get really lucky, it's 350, whatever, right? But it's not going to be worth $1 million overnight. You know what I mean? Like there's no chance. When you hire an employee, right, an associate that comes in, the upside to that person is limitless. You know what I mean? If they're good, the home is going to go up based on the market. The person, if you bring them in, you put them in the right culture, you make them happy, you create for them, you educate them, and you take care of them, that standard deviation can take off. Look at me, right? If that company that fired me after 10 months would have put me in the right environment, given me the right education, put the right talent around me, look at where they could have been, right? So it's that hockey stick opportunity that you have with every individual investment in a person is so much different. So I always have loved that side of the business to say, I want to take people and create happiness for them so that they can hockey stick their growth and I'll win too, right? As opposed to the house, which is, again, once we're done, if it's worth 300 grand, guess what? Even in the best markets, it might be worth 330, 340, whatever, right? You know where it's going. So that's the other concept that I've always believed in. And so we started hiring way too soon. Like way too soon. Like, my fourth or fifth employee, I was paying 5 times more than I was paying myself at the time, literally, because I said, in order for us to scale, I need this person to manage this company, do this for me, to let me go do this, which is, again, continue to scale the portfolio and the business of what we're doing. So it was worth it to me because, again, that hockey stick between myself and other people, you can get to 900 units and 100 million in real estate and everything that we're doing by bringing in the right talent.
What are a few, and you're right, I wasn't planning on necessarily going down the staff member route, but I understand that that's a key part of your scale. What are some things that you do to attract, and then I would also just ask, retain the right talent? Maybe that might be different than standard wisdom, or how do you think about that?
Yeah, I would tell you it's not super different than standard wisdom as much as I wish that I could tell you that it is. To me, it's creating the right environment and putting people in their highest and best use, which to me is happiness, right? Like what makes you happy? Everybody that I still have to interview everybody that comes in the organization. One of my big questions is a couple, one, what makes you happy? Where do you want to be? And I've got to be able to set you up on trajectory to get there. If I can't, well, let's have a different conversation. I'm not saying you can't come work here, right? But let's understand what that needs to look like for you to be ultimately happy. Because some people might want to come in to get educated, right? Meaning, hey, I want to learn how you do it, but in 2 years, I want to go do it myself. No problem. Let's just make sure we're agreement on what that looks like. Or some people are like, hey, I want to be there for whatever that is. But to me, every question I ask them, I say, and even internally, it's like the day that you have Sunday scaries, right? We've all heard of Sunday scaries. When you're just dreading going to work on a Monday because you have a corporate job and it's Sunday night and it's like, oh crap, now I got another work week. I'm working for the weekend, if you will. Like the moment you have that in my company, we need to have a conversation because something's off, something's wrong. And so how do we talk through getting you into the right position, whether that's at my company or a different company? Like sometimes there's seasons to everything and it doesn't always work out forever. But if we're good people, we treat each other with respect, we listen, and we understand what people want, you can create an incredible world, right? You can create an incredible culture. People always talk about culture and hey, I got this cool ping pong table in my office and we have half a day on Fridays and, we do all these fun things. I'm like, great, we do too, but that's not culture. There's nothing to do with culture. Culture is how we treat people, how we act, how we set each other up for success. What are our real deep down rooted core values? Do we think alike? Are we aligned? Right? If I have a problem at midnight on a Tuesday, when I call you, are you going to come help my family, and vice versa? Like, surrounded by the right people, the right core values. So we're massive. Our every job description has our core values on the first thing. First thing we do is ask them, what do you think about our core values? Does that align with yours? Things like that, because you've got work is more than just a job. Like, and I don't care what anybody says. Like, we spend a third of our lives at work if we're lucky. Most of us spend a lot more of it there, right? And so if we're not happy, it's a problem. We're not going to do good work. You can sustain it short term, but long term, it's never going to work, right? And so you can say, hey, I'm doing it for the money. But the reality is, if you're miserable, there's no money that's going to make you happy in that position. And you're not going to do good work. You're going to figure out a way to skate by. You're going to be looking for other opportunities. You're going to be pissing other people off. We all know the one guy that comes to work that's miserable, and we try to avoid him like the plague. Well, we can't have that at the company, right? Like, stay home. So we're really lax when it comes to those. Our policies are really lax. Like, you know what I mean? If you're having a bad day, go to the coffee shop, stay in bed. That's okay, right? I don't want you putting bad. And me too. Like, I'm not perfect. I have bad days. I have 2 little kids. Some nights I don't get any sleep because, son A wakes up for 2 hours, and I get another half hour, and then son B wakes up for 2 hours. And if I go in the office, guess what? I'm probably going to snap on somebody because they're not doing what I think that they should be doing. So, I just avoid that, right? Avoid that. Don't go in the office that day. Just be good people, right? Like take care of each other. Just be happy, be healthy. Whatever that is. To me, that's more important. We're not rocket scientists. We're not brain surgeons. And just be a good person. Take care of each other. Live life as if there's no tomorrow in terms of enjoying it. And if you could do that, then the people around you can do that, and people can get bought in. You need a vision. You need a mission, right? People need to understand, right? If we're in a rowboat and we're on the ocean, guess what? We need a target to go after, and we all need to row there. So yeah, you need to build the vision and the mission, and people need to understand what it is that you're after, so they can row the boat towards that and get behind it. It's those things, right? Like those are the things that we really try to preach that allows us to scale, right? And you need people to scale, the right people. We've made a lot of mistakes, but that's how we attract people, and that's how we retain them, right? Is take care of them, make sure they're happy, and it's self-policing, like, right? I don't do a ton of it. I do it to the people that I work closely with, and they do it to me. And the same goes for with whoever you're at in an organization, right? It's self-policing that we've got to really help and take care of each other. And that's culture, right? Culture is, of course, set at the top, but culture is not at the top. Culture is everybody within the organization taking care of and being a part of each other's happiness, if you will.
How important is, kind of a direct question for you, how important is salary to retaining a staff? Like, it was interesting that, you didn't mention that particular piece. And I'm just curious if you feel like that's a very high value thing, or if that's something that is overrated, if the culture and the core values are correct and aligned.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I think it's the ongoing debate. It has been forever. It's in the HR world of like, how important is comp and all this? Yes, I believe that it is important. I also don't believe it is the most important thing. Yeah, as long as it's in range, right? I can't pay a $400,000 a year guy $80,000 a year and expect him to be happy because I have an incredible culture, right? But if it's hey, and I think everybody's very different. That's the other thing that I massively believe in. I think everybody is very, very different. Some people definitely care more about money than other people, right? Other people just want to be happy to go to work. Other people are very goal driven, very mission driven, very like, I want to win no matter what, and I want to comp to get there no matter what, right? So you need to incentivize those people, pay them what they're worth, say go after and attack it. Other people are like, dude, listen, bro, I just want to be home by 4:30 every single day because I want to play Dungeons and Dragons on my video games and not care about life and just be happy in my video game room. And, I'm good with less money if that's the case, right? To me, what I think wins is if you create the structure that each person needs and their compensation is also aligned with what it is that they want and desire. So the person that just wants to be home every day at 4:30, not have to worry about work after hours, not have to sweat, not have to be massively, at not risk, but not have to be massively stressed about doing a great job and winning and hitting these stretch goals that they set. Well, yeah, you're not going to make $500,000 a year, or you're not going to make anywhere near the dude that's sitting next to you in the same role. That's like, dude, give me everything you possibly can. Throw it all on my plate. I'll work till I'm blue in the face. I'll do all-nighters, give me goals and incentivize me to do it, right? So you do that, that person comp's going to naturally be different. They're going to start making more money. They're going to be happier because they're in a role that they love compared to the other person is in a different role. So, it's a long-winded answer to say, I get you wanted me a direct answer. I don't have it. To me, it's just about understanding people and having emotional intelligence around what it is that people really want, reading between the lines, because also a lot of people don't tell you what they want. Like most people don't tell you what they want, no matter how much you ask, right? You go ask every one of your employees today, where do they want to be in 5 years? I bet you don't get a single answer right off the bat. I want to be right here, right now in 5 years, right? You're not going to get it. People are like, let me think about it, right? It's just the reality. And so you've got to set that for them and boundaries based on emotional intelligence and understanding what it is that you can feel that they want. And you're not always going to be right. But the really cool thing is when you're doing that, you know what I mean? You're missing and you're landing amongst the stars. And then once someone sees the moon and they're on a star, they're like, oh, I want to be there. Okay, well, let's get you there then, right? But if you're still on planet Earth trying to get them to the moon and you're not understanding that you got to get them to the stars so they can see the moon, you're never going to get them there because they don't know.
That's powerful. I want to ask kind of my final question about the scaling thing. I know we talked about your mindset. We talked about some of the different actions you took, kind of went into the staff thing, which I'm actually really glad we did. It's really relevant to several things that I'm going through right now. So thank you for that. What are some of the things, man, in your journey, you mentioned you'd made a lot of mistakes. What are some of the things, if you could do it all over again, you wouldn't do again? I'm sure, I know, yeah. And I'm sure there's I learned from everything. I don't know if I would ever do anything not again.
That's definitely the candid answer of I'm a massive believer in education. And I think taking action creates the most education you could possibly have. I would take action all day over reading a book. I work too much. I don't read a ton of books right now, but I'm learning more, in my opinion, by just making mistakes and fixing them. I think for me, there was a sense of arrogance of the market. And so, there was a point in time where we were scaling and, I'm a big believer in investing and I didn't think about cost and I'm a P&L guy and I tried to outgrow my costs, right? I hired, scaled. The market turned. I had this sense of arrogance of we'll just outgrow it. We're just going to outgrow this thing, keep growing top line, turn this revenue stream on, turn that revenue stream on. We're fine. The reality is it wasn't, right? And so there was probably about 9 months worth of arrogance there where I thought we could outgrow it and we couldn't. And I had a massive sense of reality, this stinks. It's not happening, right? And so I actually had to lay off 14 people in our company already at one time. And 100% my fault, right? Just arrogance around, we're going to keep growing. We were still hiring. It's oh shit, we're not outgrowing this thing, right? We're not going to be able to outgrow this. We've got to fix now. The nice thing is our business was massive balance sheet heavy. So it was easy to right size, right? Super easy to right size. But the reality is those 14 lives, and really it's not 14 lives. It's probably 150 lives at a minimum affected by those 14 layoffs forever, right? Now, helping them land on their feet. And at the end of the day, right, it's probably what was best for everybody, including them. It just wasn't at the time. Because I massively believe if someone's not the right cultural fit or the right fit in your company, it's painful temporarily, but everybody ultimately wins long-term, including them. But it's a tough pill to swallow. It was a massively tough pill to swallow at the time. I think it was the first time in business I ever actually cried. And I'm not too, I don't have an ego enough to say that I didn't. I mean, it was really hard. Right. And it was an arrogance ego thing at the time to be dead. I thought we could outgrow it. I had this, I put my hat on forward and said, we're going to drive through this thing and win anyways. And a lot of people's lives were affected by that. Right. And you don't realize a business is essentially a group of people doing the same thing. That's all it is. Right. And so you've got to take the human, you can't eliminate the humanality of what business really is. And at the time I did, and those lives were affected forever by that. And, that sits heavy for me. It always will, but it was a massive learning curve. But to me, it's not okay just because I got a massive education on how to better run a company. Yeah, certainly it helps now. And we're better well positioned and we're still changing people all the time. Business is business. It's really, part of my French, I won't swear, but it's really effing hard. Business is hard. But that's one of those things where I think if I just would have been smarter and more experienced and cared more for people, I wouldn't have made those mistakes and trying to outgrow the problem.
Yeah. Was it that incident that got you on this of trying to eliminate ego?
I think it definitely had a big piece of it. I definitely always was a little bit of that, like, just, I don't care about mistakes. Like, if it's getting me to my end goal, right? So just take massive action. Like, people are just, ego's just, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to be wrong. I've always not cared to be wrong. I think it was more arrogance than it was ego. Just, I didn't think that we had, I thought we were, a knight in shining armor that couldn't get pierced. Right. And I don't know that it was necessarily ego. Like, I'm egotistical thinking that. It was just like, reality was, I thought we were good. Right. Like, we were good, and it wasn't like I'm too prideful. It was just, so yeah, I mean, look, we're playing with words here, but I think definitely a combination of it all. Just mistake. Just a massive mistake of thinking that I knew business too well is really what it was. It was a lot of arrogance. Yeah,
man, I can relate to that for sure. I bought a couple of martial arts schools in Charlotte when I was really young. I was 20 years old, and I thought I could step in, be Tony Robbins, inspire the staff. They were with like a completely different organization than I was a part of. And within 2 months, every staff member had quit. I gave the one school that I bought back to the guy who's just sold it to me. And like, it was a very similar thing. And I remember like going to this golf course across the street from where I lived at the time and just like crying, screaming, being like, what the heck? Like, this is not how business is supposed to go. So I have a very visceral experience when you share that story.
But listen, that mistake probably, is foundational to your education on everything that you're doing now.
It really was.
You just don't realize it at the time. But you had to eliminate ego at some point afterwards to say, hey, I made these mistakes. How can I learn from it, right?
Yeah. I really want to honor you, and we'll wrap up with this, brother, because I know you've been so generous with your time, but I think it's so beautiful that you can come through a situation like that, say I had to let go of 14 people and it was 100% my fault. That's extreme ownership. So that's you living your company's values right here on that court.
I mean, it was.
Yeah, not everybody sees it that way. It's like, well, they didn't work hard enough, or this happened. But the fact that you can take that is beautiful, man. Man, I want to just ask you one last question, and that is like, for someone in the audience, any other advice, or just kind of a final piece of advice for someone who they want to be in real estate and they want to scale. Any other advice you have for them? Maybe they're thinking about making a similar transition to that you did, from something that seems more secure to going off on their own or quitting their W-2, which I have a lot of people that listen to us that are in that place of like, okay, like I'm ready for something new, or I want to get out of my W-2. Just what advice do you have for them as we wrap this up and put a bow on it, brother?
Yeah, I think I would say two things, right? I don't want to beat on a dead horse, but eliminate your ego, go get help, find advisors in your marketplace. If you don't have the skill set, to do it, that's okay. You can learn along the way. Go find yourself, put it in the right situation, right? What I did was extreme risk, but it was more, I got pushed to the fire. I don't necessarily believe there's a massive, push all the time in the world that we're in of entrepreneurship to go be an entrepreneur, go be an entrepreneur, go be an entrepreneur. I believe actually in entrepreneurship, which is go get educated through a job, get paid to learn from some of the best, right? Whether it be an internship. Like, I don't care if you're 30, like, this is an ego thing. If you want to get into real estate, go take an internship at a real estate. Like, go take if you have 10 years of experience in something, like, you can go get paid to do some low level thing. Go do that to learn it, right? I'll give you an example. I have our head of our construction company. He has, I think, 14 or 15 single family rentals he has now. He's 27 years old. He started with us when he was 24 because he knocked on our door and said, I just want a chance. I'll come in as an admin. I'll do whatever it takes. And he did that. Now he runs a 25-person construction company. He's doing 12 projects literally a month, running those. He's 27 years old. He's up to 14 rentals in his own portfolio. We fund all those for him because he took a chance. And he didn't go be an entrepreneur, right? He said, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to go do what I need to do inside this business, learn from you guys. And when that happens, he continues to grow. He's happy as could be. He's part of a great culture, but he's also got 14 single-family homes that he owns, right? He's got an entire nest egg. He's killing it there. He's growing them. I think like one a month at this point. And so there's a lot of different ways to be successful. The key is kind of understand what it is that you want and take massive action to start going after that, right? But do it calculated, get help along the way, whether that's the job or a mentor, right? Get in the right room and then just start freaking please taking action to go after whatever it is that you want. If you want to learn how to do bare model investing, which is what I did. Go work at a shop doing bare model investing for a year, right? Like, don't go quit your job and try to do it on your own and put yourself in a situation that you can't get out of, right? Where then you have to go back to working at McDonald's or whatever it is that you're doing because you failed. So those are the big things that I would say is take the action, but do it calculated in a way that makes sense for you and your world. And if you're not sure what that is, go get help. It's incredible how many people in the real estate space in our industry that are massively willing to help people to take action. The people that I coach that get on a call with me that take action, I'll coach them forever and I love them and usually end up doing business together. The people that get on a call that are even better off and know, like, if you're not taking massive action, I don't want to help you, right? If you see me in a room at a conference, same concept. Well, what have you done so far? Well, nothing. Well, how long have you been trying? Well, 2 years. So you spent 2 years not doing anything? Yeah, I don't really want to talk to you, but it's like, I got into this 2 months ago and I made these 12 mistakes. Oh, great. Let's talk, right? Here's what you do to fix this, this, and that. Here's my number. Let's get lunch next week, right? Because people want to help people that are taking action. People don't want to help people that just want to pick their brain for 12 hours and not do anything about it, right? It's just, as I'm sure you know, Sam, right? It's just not fun for us to help people that aren't actually going to take action and doing what it is that you're telling them to go do. So that's what I would say, long-winded answer of not directly answering your question, but giving some advice there.
No, man, it's beautiful. And that's a full circle moment because you kind of started this off by saying the way that you eliminated your fear was by moving things forward. And I know that spoke to me very personally. There's a couple situations in my life where it's like, I feel like I'm thinking. And then I kind of get fearful about my plan that I thought about. And then I'll just kind of go back. And it's like the same cycle I've just noticed plays out.
Yeah, just do one or two of those things in that plan, right? And then you can pivot at that point because you learn something, right? And then at least you're 2 steps higher on the wrong, right? Now you can get to the third step a lot easier instead of trying to reclimb 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, brother, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you so much. And could you just tell people like where they can get in touch with you if they're interested in learning more about you, learning more about what you do? Maybe if you want to share real quickly about the back-end office company for accounting that you shared with me, I think that would be really valuable. And just any way that people can connect with you and why they should connect with you.
Yeah, for sure. I'll keep it short. I got a website, CaseyRyanQuinn.com. You can just shoot me a message on that and we get back to you via email. I'm on the socials, Instagram, Casey Ryan Quinn, Facebook, the same, Casey Ryan Quinn. To your point, Sam, we, 2 years ago, because, similar to my story and building the real estate portfolio the way we have, massively using numbers and back office and understanding our bookkeeping and our reporting, we've created a company there. I have a business partner that runs the day-to-day. I'm massively involved in that as well, where we're really helping people across the entire country get their back office in order, get good bookkeeping, good financial reporting, helping them save on taxes. That company is called Accruity. We're not big on the marketing side on that company yet. We're only about 2 years old, but we're exclusively serving people, particularly investing in real estate or agents that have tax problems. So reach out to me directly, on my socials or through, my website, and I'll be able to connect you with our team over there. We'll jump on an exploratory call, understand your problems, and get those solved for you in real time so you can start seeing your numbers the way that, we're able to at City Life to scale and make good investment decisions. So the company's called Accruity. Appreciate you allowing me to shout out for that, Sam. It's funny, at City Life, we never had a reason ever to we never were really helping people in a massive way other than our employees because we were buying real estate and we never really sold something. So it's fun to be able to really help people in a massive way scale their businesses. And the most important thing is understanding their financials, so they're not, we always talk about health and people's health. And, you have these problems if you're not being healthy, all of a sudden one day you're fat and all of a sudden you're dead. It's the same in your business. If you're not understanding how you're performing financially, all of a sudden you have no cash in the bank. Right. And that's not a problem that we want anybody, any of your followers certainly to have and the listeners on this podcast. So, we're here to help if you need us.
Man, it's so true. One of the best analogies I ever heard was like, imagine trying to drive a car across the United States, not get a ticket, not run out of gas. And the way that you're going to do that is by covering your complete dashboard with like duct tape. And like, you don't get to see any of that information. So if you don't have the right, or if you're driving, if you're driving a Tesla, you just cover up the screen, right? And it's like, I don't think you're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna run out of gas. You're gonna have a lot of stuff going on. And so, the fact that you help people is incredibly valuable and so needed in this space as well, man. So highly encourage people to reach out, brother. Thank you so much for this time. We'll put all the links in the show notes when this goes live. God bless you, man.
Appreciate you, Sam.
Boom. Did you love that? Was that amazing? I know for you, I took a page of notes for me. And as I was writing down my questions that I wanted to ask him, please check out his links in the show notes. Especially, I cannot tell you how important it is to have that accounting piece dialed in and figured out. I know for me, I've been through a bunch of different accountants and bookkeepers and things like that, and just now starting to get all that dialed back in. So I'm getting the correct report at the right time, and wow, feels like I can actually drive my car again. So if that's something you're interested in, highly recommend working with Casey. All right, have a great day. We'll see you on the next episode. Please share this episode with someone else who's maybe in a certain situation where maybe they are looking to scale and expand to the next level, and this could help them. I also really liked the part about ruthlessly eliminating ego and having the courage to just say, I need help. I'm actually going to text I'm saying this on this podcast. You guys can follow up with me if I actually did this or not. I'm going to text 2 people for a situation I'm facing right now, my property management company, that I need advice from. I'm going to text 2 people and ask them if they'll jump on a call with me that I've frankly been resisting asking them because of my ego. And I'm going to eliminate that right now by just asking them. Okay, God bless.